Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Glory Morning. Hope you're having a great Glory Morning, obviously. And yeah, we're going to continue with our plan where we're trying to read through the Bible in chronological order in 1 year. So here's the plan. We're on day 3, so we're going to be finishing up the first part of Genesis 1 through 11. So let's start with Genesis 8 and let's talk about it for a little bit. So the flood subsides. But God remembered Noah and all the beasts and all the livestock that were with him in the ark, and God made a wind blow over the earth, and the waters subsided. The fountains of the deep and the windows of the heavens were closed. The rain from the heavens was restrained. Let me move this over here real quick. Yeah, like that. Yeah, let's do that. The fountains of the deep and the windows of the heavens were closed. The rain from the heavens was restrained, and the waters receded from the earth continually. At the end of 150 days, the waters had abated. And on the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. Let's go down. And the waters continued to abate until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the first day of the month, the tops of the mountains were seen. At the end of the 40 days, Noah opened the window of the ark that he had made and sent forth a raven. It went to and fro until the waters were dried up from the earth. Then he sent forth a dove from him to see if the waters had subsided from the face of the ground. But the dove found no place to set her foot, and she returned to him to the ark. But for the waters were still on the face of the whole earth. So he put out his hand, took her, and brought her into the ark with him. He waited another 7 days, and again he sent forth the dove out of the ark. And the dove came back to him in the evening, and behold, in her mouth was a freshly plucked olive leaf. So Noah knew that the waters had subsided from the earth. Then he waited another 7 days and sent forth the dove, and she did not return to him any more. In the 601st year, in the first month, the first day of the month, the waters were dried up off the earth, and Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry. In the second month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth had dried up. And God said to Noah, Go out from the ark, you and your wife and your sons wives with you. Bring out with you every living thing that is with you of all flesh, birds and animals, and every creepy thing that creeps on the earth, that they may swarm on the earth and be fruitful and multiply on the earth. So Noah went out, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him. Every beast, every creepy thing, and every bird, everything that moves on the earth, went out by families from the ark. God's covenant with Noah. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord and took some of every clean animal and some of every clean bird and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And when the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma, the Lord said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground because of man, for the intention of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I ever again strike down every living creature as I have done. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. Okay. So that's Genesis 8. So what do you guys think about this? So obviously we just came from the flood, 40 days, 40 nights. Noah's been in this ark with animals, and so now he had to wait a long time to finally be able to get out. I'm wondering what's the word for God here than God?
Strong's H 430, entry 1. Eloach. Eloach.
Elohim.
Second entry.
So, I mean, technically some people call this Elohim, Elohach, whatever. Rulers, judges, divine ones, angels, gods, God, goddess, godlike one, works or special possessions of God, the true God, God. Plural, intensive, singular meaning. Interesting. So let's go back. Yeah. So God promised Noah he would never do this again. And I think that's so important because the rainbow is so construed nowadays with the LGBT community and stuff. But originally it was for a promise for God not to flood the earth in that way with water. Next judgment's going to be with fire. So that's at least that's what biblically it says. So let's go to the next chapter. So Genesis 9. And God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, Be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth. The fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every bird of the heavens, upon everything that creeps on the ground, and all the fish of the sea. Into your hand they are delivered. Every morning that things that live shall be food for you, and as I give you the green plants, I give you everything. But you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood. And for your lifeblood I require a reckoning from every beast I require and from man, from his fellow man I require a reckoning for the life of man. Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed, for God made man in his own image. And you be fruitful and multiply, increase greatly on the earth and multiply in it. And God said to Noah and to his sons with him, Behold, I establish my covenant with you and your offspring after you, and every living creature that is with you, the birds, the livestock, and every beast of the earth with you, as many as came out of the ark, it is for every beast of the earth. I establish my covenant with you, that never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood. Never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, This is the sign of the covenant that I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for all future generations. I set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth, and the bow is seen in the clouds, I will remember my covenant that is between me and you and every living creature of all the flesh, and the water shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. When the bow is in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. God said to Noah, This is the sign of the covenant that I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. Noah's descendants. The sons of Noah who went forth from the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and from these people of the whole earth were dispersed. Noah began to be a man of the soil, and he planted a vineyard. He drank of the wine and became drunk and lay uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. And Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both of their shoulders, and walked backward and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned backward, and they did not see the father's nakedness. When Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his youngest son had done to him, he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be to his brothers. He also said, Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. After the flood, Noah lived 350 years. And all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. Okay, Genesis 9. So, finishing up kind of the Noahic covenant here. And it's so interesting that from the very beginning, God meant for us to go out to the ends of the world and multiply in it. And this is where when God promised the rainbow, you know. It's also interesting when you look at this word, but my bow. Let's look at it.
Strong's H 7198. Kesheth.
Kasheth.
Kesheth.
It's a feminine noun. It's a bow for hunting battle, bowmen, archers, bow of might, rainbow. So it's honestly interesting that when you look at a rainbow, I know you all know what a rainbow is. when we look at a rainbow, it looks like an actual like earth bow, like a bow and arrow. So it's almost like I'm wondering like if God is gonna place not the judgment on humanity next time, but almost pointing it to himself. Just a theory. Um, we see that Cain is cursed. Shem is with the Davidic line, eventually leading to Joseph, um, leading to Judah, and Judah leads to David. David leads to Jesus. So that's important to know. And I can't believe humanity used to live this long. A few hundred years. That's nuts. We don't know exactly why God kind of was like, all right, we're not doing that anymore. you know. So let's go to Genesis 2, 10. So nations descended from Noah, and we actually read this in First Chronicles 1, 5 through 27. I'm not going to read that, but basically it's stating the same thing. These are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Sons were born to them after the flood. The sons of Japheth: Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tyrus. The sons of Gomer: Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. The sons of Javan: Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. From these the coastland people spread in the lands, each with his own language, by their clans and their nations. The sons of Ham: Cush, Egypt, Put, and Canaan. The sons of Cush: Seba, Havilah, Hapta, Ramah, and Sabteka. The sons of Ramah: Sheba, and Dedan. Let me put this over here again. I lost some place. And Dedan. Alright. Cush fathered Nimrod. He was the first on the earth to be a mighty man. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. From that land he went into Assyria and built Nineveh, Rehoboth, Keilah, Cana, and the land of Shinar. From that land he went to Assyria and built Nineveh, Rehoboth, Calah, and Rezin between Nineveh and Calah, that is a great city. Egypt fathered Ludim, Ananim, Lehabam, Naphtuhim, Pathrusim, Casluhim, from whom the Philistines came, and Caphtorim. Canaan fathered Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth. And the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, the Arkites, the Sinaites, the Arvadites, the Zemarites, and the Hamathites. Afterwards the clans of the Canaanites dispersed. And the territory of the Canaanites extended from Sidon in the direction of Gerar as far as Gaza, in the direction of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim as far as Lasha. These are the sons of Ham by their clans, the languages, the lands, and the nations. To Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber, the elder brother of Japheth, children were born. The sons of Shem: Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. The sons of Aram: Uz, Hul, Gether, and Mash. Arphaxad fathered Shelah, and Shelah fathered Eber. To Eber were born two sons. The name of the one was Peleg, and for in his days the earth was divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. Joktan fathered Almodad, Sheloth, Sheleph, Azur, Maveth, Zerah, Adoram, Uzal, Dikla, Obal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All these were sons of Joktan. The territory in which they lived extended from Mesha in the direction of Sephar to the hill country of the east. These are the sons of Shem by their clans, their languages, their lands, and their nations. These are the clans of the sons of Noah, according to their genealogies and their nations, and from these the nations spread abroad on the earth after the flood. Okay. So basically, a huge chronological order here of Genesis 10. Very, very informative. Gives us a lot of insight. It's interesting that like we see coastline peoples derived from these, and it's almost like when you look at a map, um, Genesis 10 nation. Uh, when you look at this, oh no, that's not what I wanted.
I can turn any.
Don't want a video. Um, okay, there we go. We get this huge list of names, and by the names, we can pinpoint where everybody went. Um, so Nimrod was the son of Ham, sons of Shem was purple, sons of Japheth is in green, and yeah. It's an interesting map for sure. So didn't see any words I really want to call out here. Interesting chapter. Good information to know. Later on, First Chronicles, like we kind of reviewed, we'll state this again. It is important. So let's go to the next chapter. All right, so Genesis 11, the Tower of Babel. Now the whole earth had one language and the same words. And as the people migrated from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone and bitumen for mortar. Then they said, Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of man had built. The Lord said, Behold, they are one people, and they have all one language, and this is only the beginning of what they will do. And nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and there confuse the language, so that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord dispersed them from there over the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city. Therefore its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord dispersed from over the face of all the earth. Shem's descendants. We also get to see more of Shem's descendants, First Chronicles, and in Luke, it also counts this genealogy as well. And when it comes to genealogies, it's like, all right, with all the information we have, the creation, the flood, and then genealogies. Why is genealogies important? Because I believe they are pointing to the Messiah, Jesus, and that's why it's important. So let's read Genesis 11. These are the generations of Shem. When Shem was 100 years old, he fathered Apakshad 2 years after the flood. And Shem lived after he fathered Apakshad 500 years and had those sons and daughters. When Apakshad had lived 35 years, he fathered Shelah. And Apakshad lived after he fathered Shelah 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Shelah had lived 30 years, he fathered Eber. And Shelah lived after he fathered Eber 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Eber had lived 34 years, he fathered Peleg. And Eber lived after he fathered Peleg 430 years and had other sons and daughters. When Peleg had lived 30 years, he fathered Ru. And Peleg lived after he fathered Ru 209 years and had other sons and daughters. When Ru had lived 32 years, he fathered Serug. And Ru lived after he fathered Serug 207 years and had other sons and daughters. When Serug had lived 30 years, he fathered Nahor. And Serug lived after he fathered Nahor 200 years and had other sons and daughters. When Nahor had lived 29 years, he fathered Terah. Nahor lived after he fathered Terah 119 years and had other sons and daughters. Whoops. When Nahor lived 29 years, he fathered Terah, and Nahor lived after he fathered Terah 119 years, and had other sons and daughters. When Terah lived 70 years, he fathered Abraham, Nahor, and Haran. So then Terah's descendants. Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah fathered Abram, Nahor, and Haran fathered Lot. Haran died in the presence of his father Terah in the land of his kindred in Ur of the Chaldeans. And Abram and Nahor took wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah and Iscah. Now Sarai was barren; she had no children. Terah took Abram's son and Lot, the son of Haran, his grandson, and Sarai, his daughter-in-law, his sons, Abram's wife, and they went forth together from Ur of the Chaldeans to go into the land of Canaan. But when they came to Haran, they settled there. The days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. So Genesis 11. That was Genesis 11. So we get the Tower of Babel, where God decides, or man decides, to try to build a tower to reach the heavens, to basically say, hey, look how mighty we are. And if you look, this goes against his past decree of, hey, humanity, go spread forth across the earth and populate. And instead, man and defiance, like humanity always does, like with God, is they just feel like, hey, let's build a name for ourselves. Who cares about this God, you know? And you know, when you study language, a lot of languages derive from an earlier language. Like a lot of European languages come from Latin. A lot of Romance languages, right? And so over time, as a Protestant Christian, I don't deny that languages don't change or variate, and it wasn't all, you know, I don't think it, like modern day Italian, was created from the day of Babylon. I do believe there's variances, but I do think the core languages, like if we look at the Latin languages. Hmm. Like I totally believe that all these languages, like this is true, like this chart's true, right? Like I totally believe this. Ah, frick. You know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to do here. Um, so I, with my beliefs, I don't believe that this didn't happen. But Latin, like I wouldn't be surprised if Latin either came from an earlier language or came from one of the languages that came out of Babylon. That's my personal beliefs and convictions. I I think there's just so much evidence that like modern English didn't come from Babylon. You know, derived from an ancient Viking language in England. Um, so, or almost German-like language. Again, after the Babylon, and what is the Lord here? What is like so the Lord,
Strong's H 3068. Yehovah.
Jehovah, which means the existing one. Different than Yahweh. But yeah, basically, so the Yahweh dispersed them from there over the face of, or sorry, the Jehovah dispersed them from there over the face of all their. That's what that word means. Um, again, chronological list of names. It gets to Terah, and then it gets to Abraham. And Abram's a key, or Abram is a key factor in the Bible. Original, uh, the original gangster of the Jews. I don't even know how to else to pronounce it. The founder of the Jews, really, with the help of God, and eventually this leads to Judah, leads to David, leads to Jesus. So that's Genesis 11. We will going to take a break from Genesis, but that's the first main part. Basically, just stating like a downward spiral of humanity, and we need a savior. And thankfully, God has a plan, and Abraham's part of that huge picture of saving and blessing not just Abraham and the Jews, but all of humanity. So so when we get back tomorrow, we're actually going to go to Job. Um, and Job is an interesting book of not just poetry, but he may have actually existed. And if he did, he lived around Abram's time in the land of Uz. So we were going to talk about him tomorrow. Have a good morning.